All right, everybody, it is Wednesday night. How's it going? I'm here with our longtime good buddy, Fluff, for a special version of Gear and Beer this week because, yeah, well, number one, we have Fluff here to, just kind of sit back and shoot the shit with a little bit. And he's got some coffee out that we're going to be trying. So I got some beers, but I also got some coffee to check out. Yeah, I'm into it. We had it... I was at Glenn Fricker's last week for the launch of the Northern Mauler pedal, and he had it, and I had a beer, but I did get a little taste beforehand. And yeah, man, it's great stuff.
I like it.
I am not a coffee connoisseur, but my wife is. And my wife immediately, when she saw that you had sent me some, she's like, are you going to bring that home for me? Because, that's more for me than for you. And I'm like, well, I was going to, share it with people at the shop first, but...
Everyone's wife is a coffee connoisseur. Matt from Fractal is, he was like, hey, can I try some of your coffee? And I was like, oh, dude, yeah, of course, absolutely. He's like, cool, I don't drink coffee. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, nice. My wife drinks coffee though. She's like an actual connoisseur of coffee. And I was like, oh, and she very much liked it. Thank God.
Oh, dude. My wife has the thing that, if she doesn't have enough coffee, she gets caffeine headaches, and it's, the worst. So it's, it's a real thing in our house. So yeah, thanks for sending that over. So if you guys haven't checked it out, Manny's going to make some coffee to check out. We've got the beard blend. So before we get into anything else, I'm going to do the, normal housekeeping things. So if you are not liked and subscribed to our channels, please like and subscribe to our channels and smash that like button so more people pay attention to what we're doing, or whatever other dumb shit we're supposed to say that either you want to listen to us babble on like idiots for an hour or you don't. So we're going to talk about gear that we like, stuff that we've used over the years, stuff that Fluff's been using over the years, what it's like touring, all that kind of shit. Yeah. And Manny's going to make us some coffee while we're doing it. So why don't you tell me, how did you get hooked up with a coffee company?
Jake, I know Jake Paulson. Jake Paulson used to be front of house for Third Eye Blind, and I think he worked with Pierce the Veil and a couple other bands. He is a front of house guy. He's homies with my band's manager, Joey Bradford from The Used. And,
okay, yep.
And we were doing a photo shoot in Seattle. The first, when we signed the record deal, they're like, oh, let's do a photo shoot, and all this stuff. And he came out to say hi, and he shot some photos, and he was a cool, he's not going to watch this, but no one tell him I said he was a cool guy. He took really nice photos, and then I was like, well, what do you do in Seattle? And he's like, oh, I own a coffee company. I own Anchorhead. And I was like, wait, what? Because I like Anchorhead. I was familiar with the brand, and I was like, wait, you own Anchorhead? And he was like, yeah, I quit doing front of house, and I started the coffee company 8 years ago out of my kitchen. I was like, wait, what? And they have a couple of shops in Seattle that you can go to, and they're in Microsoft and all this stuff.
That's killer.
They're awesome. They're really good coffee. So,
I'm stoked to check it out. Manny, why don't you, if you're good, why don't you start brewing us up some? I know Fluff loves Black Star amps. I mean, love them more than his life.
Hey, okay.
Dude,
so I am over. Okay, so I actually they sent me two, hopefully they're not watching. They sent me two of the new amps, the super lightweight.
Yeah, the St. James
amps. And yes,
I've got one sitting right.
Yes, I'm about to talk about Black Star amps on the Rev stream. Sorry.
Yes.
But no, they sent them to me, and they're really enthusiastic. And I'm like, do I say anything or do I not say anything? What's the call here? Because I'm okay with trying out new stuff. All the amplifiers that I ever had a problem with haven't been made in a very long time. So
right.
I don't care. Sure, I will check some stuff out. But do I say anything or do I not say anything?
I feel there's this misconception because we'll get into talking about you and gear demos and stuff like that. But I do feel there is this group of people, specifically on the internet, that really feel people are trying to dupe people into buying something that is honestly a pile of crap. And I think everybody makes awesome stuff. Like, I just think that either it works for what I do or what you do, or it doesn't. That doesn't mean that it's not killer, though, right? Like, the amount of pedals I bought, man. Like, I'm gonna show you this pedal just because we're talking about weird gear.
Hand grinding?
And all shit.
Jeez, you guys are correct.
Oh man, Manny is like the ultimate hipster. Like, there's.
I wouldn't say ultimate, but I mean,
he's up there.
I'm a coffee snob. I like my coffee, so I'm excited to try this out. Yeah.
Dude, this dude is like a monitor in front of house guy as his real gig. He came to work for us during the pandemic and has kind of hung out when he doesn't go tour gigs.
Yeah.
He literally shows up at like festival dates that like I go rig at. He shows up with this coffee set because he's like, I'm not drinking the shit water that they've got here for me.
Yeah, this stays in my Pelican, so.
Yeah, yeah.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, man.
So I got this thing last week in Toronto. It's Fairfield Circuitry. You ever heard of them?
I've heard of them. I've never tried anything, though.
Yeah, dude, they're out of Montreal in Canada. I can't even tell you what this pedal does, right? I just know that it's like, it's got some frequency thing that like you turn that frequency knob and then like it'll like sustain notes and freak out a little bit. And otherwise it works as a drive. I will never use this pedal for anything in any real world application, but it's cool as shit. Like, and the thing that it does is cool as shit. And that's what I feel like and I mean, and you can speak way better to this than I can, but I feel like with gear demos, there's so many people who want to get like pissed off about whether or not something is cool or whether or not you think something's cool or Trey thinks it's cool or Glenn or Pete Thorne or whoever. And at the end of the day, like, honestly, most things are cool. It's just maybe not the thing that you're going to use every day.
Yeah, that was the whole premise of my channel is I'm not going to say this fucking sucks. Fuck. I'm not referencing anybody. That was just a generalization. But I wouldn't say wild, sensational as shit. I just wanted to do the thing that maybe I would do with it and let you decide if you liked that.
Yes.
Like that's it. That's literally the entire existence of my YouTube channel. Like, if you liked what you heard, then you probably like the thing. Like, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Who am I to say that it sucks or not? Like, maybe you make it sound sick.
I mean, and if you like it, buy it.
Right.
And the vast majority of places that you buy, like if you buy our product or like almost anything I own, apart from a couple of like really tiny boutique builders, everybody's got a good return policy. If you don't like it, send the shit back. Yeah. Like, there's no skin off that. Like, I saw, I got the new SLO pedal. We were talking about it a little bit because this is the first time I got to try it. I think it's great. It sounds awesome.
It does.
I saw a lot of people online that were huge fans, and I saw some people who said, like, it doesn't stack up against the BEOD and Deluxe and some other stuff. And I'm like, if it's not your thing, then cool, send it back. It'll be somebody else's thing.
Yeah. Or how come you didn't A and B it with your if you have an SLO 100, why didn't you A and B both of them? Like,
because everybody tried to do that. like there was a bunch of demos where people were trying to compare it against the amp, and I'm like, what are you doing? Come on, it's a $230 pedal versus a $3,000 or $4,000 amplifier.
Like, and you can speak to this way better than I could. Like, you would never, in your right mind, say this G3 sounds exactly like our 100-watt amplifier. Like, you would never
100%.
say that.
No, it is the most accurate representation that we can make of that voicing in a small transistor circuit.
It's as close as you can get.
It's as close as we can get, and it's something that, like, to us, we always view it as like it's kind of the building block for most people as they start to have any experience with our brand, right? Yeah. So we end up having that, like, I mean, actually, you're responsible for this. Like, Bill Kelleher reaching out to me about getting a Generator 120 because the Helix, you were like, yo, Bill likes the red channel in the Helix. You need to talk to him. And, like, most people have experience from something that is not the real thing from us. And that's what slowly kind of brings them into checking us out. And yeah, I just wanted to rip on the fact that I just get so annoyed when I see people on, forums or Facebook groups essentially trying to say that, like, people are paid shills or people are, and I'm like, man, no one is telling you to buy anything. Like legit, like no one.
I hate that so, dude. I mean, I get it. I still get it, even though I've changed like my whole, like, yes, I'm being paid, and like, or not being paid, and then they think I'm lying, and like, you know, it's like, no, I can't lie about that. Also, people seem to have this this view that it's like the 1920s movie, you know, Hollywood thing where the studios owned the actors, and like, we so desperately need the companies, please, like, dog, it's like the other way around. Like, I don't need to do anything. I don't need to say anything. I don't care if I'm taking your money or not. Like, I don't have to do anything I don't want to do.
What people don't understand, because we get this a lot, because I mean, truth be told, like, you know, we've gotten some hate on the internet over products, but it's rare. Like, most of the time, people have a fairly positive experience with our brand and like with the product. And people think that that means that we've bought and paid for a review from somebody. No, I pay. Well, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest. A lot of, like, and you can attest to this, we knew each other when you didn't have a massive channel. And a lot of us became friends early on
100%.
When people weren't paying attention, like other brands weren't paying attention to YouTube. So like when, you know, when Glenn and I called you to say, like, we were at Sweetwater and we're like, hey, we have a new pedal.
Right.
Can we send you one? And you were like, yeah, of course. Right? I mean, I know you charge to do stuff like this, but there's lots of times that you're always like, yeah, no, like, send it over. And I think that there's a lot of people that just don't get that that happens. And even if you do pay for it, like, that's one of the things that we've been really happy about, that we've grown to the point that we can pay people for when they do things to help us out, right?
Yeah, every time I get shit for doing anything paid, I wish people could see, like, all those, like, dude, I did a bunch of videos for you guys because I wanted to, and they were unpaid, and then finally you guys were like, let us build you an amp. Come on. And I was like, nah. You're like, let us build you an amp. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, it's just, we're buds. You gave me an amp. Like, thanks, dog.
Yeah. And like, that shit just drives me so crazy, because I feel like it discredits the product. Like, and I'm not talking about when it's our product, because I mean, honestly, our product has been shit on so little. But like, the amount of people that get so worked up about that. Hey, what's up, Kyle? Speaking of YouTubers doing gear demos, Kyle Bull. Yeah, like, I just don't get it. And I hope that people realize that, like, you guys are just putting stuff out in front of people, and you do a great job of making things sound good and making it sound the way you would use it. And like you said, if you like this and you like how I've used it, then you can look into it. And if you don't, well, then who cares?
I have made a video twice, and I ended up deleting it, and I never put it out. But it was basically calling out the gear mafias and the clicks that result from gear brands. And for example, all the people in the very, very beginning of, like, oh, Fractal's better than anything else, or the Kiesel guys, or the Fortin guys, and how they're so sensitive about, like, and I'm not talking about the products, and I'm not talking about the brands. I'm talking about the culture of users that surround those brands, and how toxic they can be to everybody else that's just trying to find something that they like.
Well, it's weird, like, because I see that as being, like, there's a lot of, like, gatekeeping in the metal community. And, like, I can't play metal to save my life. I did see someone, we will get to comments as we go here. So for anybody that's watching on Fluff's channel, I'm Derek. I'm one of the owners at Rev.
Hey, everyone. We're hanging out at Rev.
Yeah. So it's, I can't count how many times I've read comments about how Rev's not metal enough on the internet. And I was like, man, we've never tried to be metal. We've just decided to build some products that, like, Dan's into metal. I'm a hard rock dude. Like, that's, you know, I love Nickelback. And, you know, like, things that I'm definitely going to get crucified on the internet for saying, but, or possibly here by Manny and Stobes. But, there's people that, like, they get so horribly upset, and they're just like, well, that product's not metal enough, or it's not this enough. And I'm like, cool, then don't, you know what I mean? Like, don't buy it, don't use it. Like,
bro. Yeah. Everyone deserves all of the gear and everyone deserves to like whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and man, that's the other misconception is like, I'm not a designer. I'm a sales and marketing guy. That's what I do, right?
Sure.
And you and I, we nerd out all of the time about Mesa Boogie stuff. Like most of our conversations I think we've had in the last few years is like, hey, did you hear about this thing? And I'll be like, no. What is it? And you're like, it's the Badlander. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, what? Like, I want to know everything about it. And like, there's this misconception.
Like, is that really what they're calling it?
Yeah, yes, I was. I did say that. Yeah. I'm like, really? Okay.
We all did.
Yes. But there's this misconception that if you design gear or if you work for a gear company, that's the only thing that you that you're into, and that's not. Like
those aren't.
I love
those
everything.
Aren't revs behind you?
Well, I mean, it's the new Rev 90 Soldano SLO.
It's the new Rev 5150. It's also the. Wait, you got a Grace?
Yeah, dude.
Bro, what? When did you get that?
I bought it from Anthony Best, and he's like desperately wants me to sell it back, and I keep being like, no, man, I'm not.
How is it?
It's awesome. It's really awesome.
Fuck, I want one of those amps.
Dude, I saw the Pumpkins on Friday night in St. Paul, Minnesota.
He's using Laney too.
Yeah, Laney, the Grace, in an amp from Nashville I've never tried called Ebo.
Yeah.
And then and an orange. And he's using the Ampede amp switchers. And he's got 2 identical rigs and running them. And then James Eha was using Friedman JJs. And then Jeff Schroeder, the reason we were there is Schroeder plays 120s. So we got to shoot some video, and it was cool, man. This is the first time I have ever heard our rigs in an arena. I know there's guys that tour with them, right? And I know there's decent sized bands like Asking Alexandria that use our stuff, and they'll play arena sized stuff. I've never been at one of those shows. So it was cool as shit being in the audience and watching him take a solo and listening and being like, holy shit, like this sounds unbelievable. So
that's awesome. Congratulations. That's sick.
Thanks, man. It was a ton of fun. And I'm admittedly, I'm not a huge Pumpkins fan. Like, I like most of all of their hits, right? Like, yeah, from, Siamese Dream through, whatever the album was that had Ava Adore, right?
Adore, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, I was way more of a Pearl Jam guy. That was more my speed, right? And Soundgarden. So I was kind of like, and I brought my brother and one of my buddies, and my buddy that came with us is a massive Pumpkins fan, and we brought our video dude Dorian, and we were all just like blown away by the show. So yeah,
Corgan would be on my Mount Rushmore of guitar players that absolutely shaped everything I think and feel about guitar, especially early on. Fucking Cobain, Cantrell, and Corgan, all the 3 C's.
Yep.
Those were my guys. Like, I was obsessed with the Pumpkins for so many years.
Dude, this is awesome. So,
thank you.
Shameless promotions of this. So, your Arrowhead coffee. Where can they get this for anybody who's watching?
Anchorheadcoffee.com.
Sweet. Can you guys throw that in the comments for them so they can see that? So, yeah, go order yourself up some Fluff coffee and
it's delish.
Get after it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, I like it.
So, all right. So, let's talk about you touring, because we were just talking about bands touring. So,
I've been touring a lot.
I know. Like, every time I go to talk to you,
bro,
you're like, we're going to be away. I'll be back in like 2.5 months. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'll leave again Monday.
Nice. Living the dream.
This is what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what I was going for. So, where are you guys going to? Like, where are you headed to next?
It's mainly a Midwest and East Coast tour. We're not coming to the Midwest. We're going to be out with From Ashes Anew, or From Ashes to New.
Okay.
And Word Alive and Dropout Kings. And we're not opening the tour. We've moved on up. And we're 2 of 4. And it's going to be a good time. It's going to be cold.
Nice.
But it's going to be a good time.
I mean, I remember, was it 2019 or is it 2020 when you guys headed out with the used?
That was January 2020, the day after NAMM.
Right. Yeah, I remember dropping off cabs to you, like right after the show closed. I think you guys were at like a rehearsal space, and you had given me. That's when you gave me the Dragged Under EP, and that legit that disc is still in the CD player of my truck.
That's so
I mean, to be fair, I don't have a lot of CDs anymore, but it's dude, and like it was one of the first vinyls I bought. My wife and kids bought me a record player for Christmas in 2021. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's right. And I yelled at you for buying it.
Yeah, and I was like, no, dude, I would happily buy it. That if you guys haven't, I mean, I know there's a ton of people watching on your channel. For our channel, if you guys haven't checked out Dragged Under, like Fluff's band fucking rips, like
Thanks,
rips.
Man.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, I remember the first time I heard Hypochondria, and I was like, holy shit, like that. I don't know. I'd love to know. Like, I was trying before the stream to get close to your guitar tone on it, and I can't. Like, I don't know what you did, but like I have the tilt. Did we send you we didn't send you one of Sean's pedals, did we? I'll send you one of these to check out because I think you'll dig the boost side of it. The drive side you'll be into, but it's more low to mid gain stuff. But like, check out the difference with this, with the way this tilt EQ works. So here, like, just my bass. Now what? So that's just, I literally dimed the mids on the purple channel, but this like. So yeah, I tried to get close. Dude, I don't think I'm anywhere close to that tone. That the guitar sounds so monstrous. Do you remember what you were using for that?
For the first record, it was a combination of a Chris Crumit's Marshall JMP Kemper profile, and JST. Jason Richardson's plugin.
Dude, I love the fact that it's all plugin, like it's either modeling or plugins for your record.
So the first record was demos. Like we had no intention of releasing any of that stuff, and then it was like, let's just make all these demos a record, and then we're like, can we record some of them? Because like there's some horribly out of tune shit. Like, oh nope, soft mixing. We're like, okay, great,
nice.
So yeah, that was all Matt Good. Matt Good chose that Marshall JMP profile from Chris Crumit's pack.
Cool. Marshalls. You and I are similar that way, right? Like you weren't into Marshalls early on either, were you?
Dude, no. Well, I was mad at them for a long time, and this is not stupid, but I bought a brand new Valve State, and I saved up all my money, and I bought a brand new Valve State 212 combo, and basically, it basically blended both the channels, so both channels were on at all times. And and then I think it caught fire, or it got really hot and like tried to catch fire, and it was 4 months old, and this would have been 1996, and I had filled out my warranty like a good boy, and I took it into the repair shop, and basically I go back to pick it up, and the guy who's still repairing Marshalls and Peavies in Tacoma, Washington, is screaming at Marshall as I'm walking in, you know, basically going, you're making me break this little kid's heart, because basically Marshall's reaction was, yeah, we're having that problem with a lot of them. Sorry, kid, we're not gonna cover that under warranty. And the repair would have been like, it was the cost of the amp, and I was just like, oh, great. So I had no amplifier for like a year.
Oh, that sucks.
It sucked. And I was in a band at the time, and it was really tough. So that was the first reason why I was just like, you know what, fuck Marshall. And you know what, I'm gonna fucking get to a place where they're gonna want me to play their shit, and I'm never gonna play their, like, yeah, I was just a kid. Yeah. And I didn't touch a Marshall for 20 years after that.
Man, I was 14, and everyone who watches this is going to think I'm an idiot, and they're not incorrect. I got what, it was a 74, so it had to have been a JMP 212 combo. It was a 212 combo. It was crazy heavy, but it did not have enough gain for me because I was 14, right? So I sure did sell that amp for $350 or $400, and I sure did go buy a Valve State single 12 because it had more distortion, not gain.
Wow.
Yeah, and like looking like now, and I'm similar. Like as soon as I first heard a rectifier, I was like, screw everything else. Like any other high gain amp, I don't care what it is. I heard a dual rec for the first. Oh, no, it was a triple rec for the first time, and I was like, yep, that's what I'm into.
Yeah.
And I got to get one. So I remember this is where my hatred for Marshall came in, was that I had my rectifier I bought a triple rec in 2000, and
Wow.
I had it for maybe 2 months, and the output transformer blew. It was connected to a cab. Like I wasn't that dumb. Maybe, but anyway, so it went back on warranty, and in Winnipeg, the warranty repair, like it was going to take several months. So when I took it back to the store that I bought it from, it was like, well, can you give me like a rental or a loaner? Like I was gigging at the time, so I'm like, I need an amp, and they refused to give me another boogie. Like they had more rectifiers, they refused to give me one, and what they gave me was the JCM 2000 triple super lead amp, and that amp is a steaming pile of dog shit.
Really? I've never played one.
It was horrible. Our other guitar player had a 5152, and like I had that Marshall dimed, and it was 150 watts. I had it dimed, and he was maybe, Stoves, what would you have been on, like 3 for like master?
Yeah, probably three and a half.
And he just buried me night to night. Like, and the Marshall sounded like shit, and yeah, I finally went back and was like, we did like 3 or 4 shows. I went back and like set it on the rental desk. I'm like, give me anything. I'll go back to my Fender 410 DeVille with my Dan Electro Fab Tone before I play this thing ever again. Like, it was just terrible. And I honestly, that was the end of Marshalls for me until probably it would have been 2017 that I took over for you at Two Notes.
Yeah.
And I was shooting video with Joey Landreth showing the Torpedo live with vintage amps. So we had an 82 50-watt JCM 800 CSA edition, and we had a 74 50 or 100-watt JMP. And as soon as Joey plugged into the JMP, I was like, what the hell is that? That's not a Marshall. Like, Marshalls don't sound like that. Marshalls sound thin and shitty.
Right.
And that sent me off on, like, now I need every Marshall. Actually, that's not 100% true. I did have that Marshall / AFD 100 that actually you were the one that told me that it was worth a ton of money, and I sold it because you told me it was worth a bunch of money. Like back in like 2015 or something like that. And I actually just got another one finally in June this year. And
I'll dibs if you get rid of it.
Dude, never. Like, never again. I regret it so, like, I regretted that for so long. I mean, I bought my kids, like, a play structure for our yard, and I was like, man, I could have found another way to make $3,000. Like, why did I get rid of this? And, yeah, I mean, my children's happiness is more important than my Marshall.
Well, I mean, as important.
Yes.
Like, they're not, it's something more important.
Yeah. These things are not equal.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah. But they're not way up. So, yeah, apart from that AFD head, like, I swore off Marshalls. And then, yeah, it was like around then with like the JMP was what kind of, that and that JCM 800. And I actually bought the JCM 800. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's like way up at the top.
Yeah, I see it.
It's killer. Yeah, so.
I just did a video on the JCM 900.
Oh, yeah.
Because I traded, I had so the very last year, the 2004, the last year of the 5150, once Eddie left, My brother-in-law at the time got a brand new 5152 half stack, and he decided he hated it, or he didn't want it, or he needed money, or whatever, and he sold it to me, the half stack at that time, for $800, and it was
Nice.
And it was a month old, 2 months old, something maybe. I had it for like a year, and then I got into this really crazy kick of like punk rock, Alkaline Trio, Rancid. That I was into those bands in the '90s, not Alkaline Trio because they weren't around, but I was really like getting out of metal and kind of going through this weird like punk rock phase. And I traded my 5152 for a JCM 900 on Craigslist. And I got home and I played one chord, and I was like, "Oh shit."
Yep.
Shit.
What's up, Sean? Sean Tubbs is here, and I saw that somebody asked if this is live or not. Yes, it is. Charles asked if we were live. Yeah, we were hanging out.
I think it's due to lack of information that I didn't like a lot of stuff back in the day, because there was not the internet. The internet didn't exist. So,
yeah.
For example, me and my buddy Mark Allen, whom I'm still friends with to this day, we read in a guitar interview, a Guitar World magazine, that Kirk Hammett said the key to his distorted tone was his Ibanez Tube Screamer. Oh, that's the sound of the Black Album. Of course it is. That's
yes, it is. Yes.
Let's work our ass off, and let's mow a bunch of lawns and wash a bunch of cars, and let's get a Tube Screamer. We ordered it off Musician's Friend. We got a TS9 Tube Screamer, just like Kirk Hammett said. It didn't sound like the Black Album.
No.
He didn't say he was boosting.
Yeah, I was like, it sounds more like Stevie Ray Vaughan.
How the hell are we supposed to know what that is at 15 years old? Like, I don't know.
Oh, dude, I think that, well, I mean, never mind that. I mean, embarrassing stories about me with stuff like that. It wasn't until I went to the Dallas Guitar Show with Dan in 2016, I want to say, and I went to hook up the 120 that we had there. Oh, who can't hear you? I don't know.
You guys can't hear me? Or is that a sarcastic? I think that was sarcastic.
Must be.
It has to be.
We would have had nothing but comments already being like, we can't hear Fluff. Yeah. I was at the Dallas Guitar Show. I go to hook up. We had a carbon copy for a delay pedal, and I'm plugging it in front of the amp, and Dan's like, why don't you plug that into the effects loop? It's way better than the effects loop. And I'm like, oh, I never run anything in the effects loop. And yeah, I mean, I was in a band from 2000 to 2008 or 2009 where I used a DL4 every night. And yeah, the first time I plugged a delay pedal into the effects loop and used it was at the Dallas Guitar Show. And then I was all of a sudden like, why have I not been doing this my entire life?
I'm only coming in on the left channel, apparently.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any control over that, but
I mean, I have you in both, so that's weird.
I don't know, guys.
Yeah.
And I have stereo audio checked in my thing, so nope, we're good. That is on your end.
Yeah.
You got to plug in your headphone adapter all the way.
Yes.
Oh no, Sean says I am panned hard left.
Weird. Manny, what'd you do?
One sec. How about now?
I mean, you're the same for me, but
yeah.
I've got somebody else says Fluff in both. That's strange. Like some people have. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just unchecked stereo audio.
Somebody just
now I'm centered. Okay.
Stoby's saying that it's a StreamYard thing. Yeah. StreamYard's weird with some stuff like this.
Sometimes. It's kind of janky.
It's a bit janky. We had tons of problems at Glenn's place last week because we didn't turn off the noise suppression stuff, and we were playing while talking, and it just went to shit real fast.
Whoops.
But yeah, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're live.
So what's your kind of go-to Marshall now?
I have a Silver Jubilee. It's not here right now, but the JVM 210H is great. I'm also totally in love with my 1987X Plexi.
Yep.
It's so, man, they really, really nailed that amp. Mm-hmm. I have the 900. You can kind of see the 900 right. Oh, well, not. There you go. It's too dark, but there's a 900 right here.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know, 900, Silver Jubilee, 1987 Plexi. They're all just so awesome.
Yeah, I find that like when you're talking about like that the internet doesn't exist, so like you didn't, or at least like there was no way of getting help figuring out how to use gear or anything back then. I also think that just like what, at least for me, like what I was going for a sound, like a Marshall would have never really worked. And like now what I play and what I go for, Marshalls work very well, or like the green channel on our
Isn't
amps
that
are
weird?
my
I've
favorite
noticed
thing.
this. I've noticed this with a bunch of really, really popular players. For example, the first that comes to my mind was Lee Malia from Bring Me the Horizon. You know, those bands start out as like this crazy metalcore 5150 PV6505 and a tube screamer kind of band.
Yep.
And then the older we get, you know, I went and said hi to him a couple of years ago in Seattle, and he was like running all Marshalls, and I was like, "How the hell? Wait, you're running all Marshalls, like 800s and stuff, and you still sound the same." So like, you know, the lesson is you can if you want, you can get there no matter what, but it's how much work you want to put in.
Yeah, and I feel like I go for, you know, kind of a little bit drier or tighter tones now than what I did.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like when I started with Rev, I was a huge fan of the Red channel. Like that was my go-to, right?
Yes.
And now, I mean, I would use the green channel more than anything else, or I'd use either red or purple, but the gain will be like 9 or 10 o'clock. Like it's not going to be at 1 o'clock or anything like it used to be.
These kids will never know. These kids will never know the lack of or how much information or how good they got. Dude, I was at a show watching a buddy's band, and he had a 5150 they used to toss in the back of a trailer, no case or anything. They used to literally throw it because we didn't know.
Yep.
And I'm like, how are you sounding that damn heavy? And he's just like, I don't know. I just plug into that thing. And I was like, but what pedals are you using? He's like, I don't have any pedals. And I was like, no, but how are you sounding like that? And he was like, it's the amp. And I'm like, amps don't do that. Like, you just didn't know.
Yep.
So stupid.
100%. The same for me until probably within the last like 2 years. Like once we started doing live streams, and Sammy and I, who's normally here with me, started handling more. I was like, all right. I'm like, I've never done the like boosting an amp with a tube screamer or anything.
That's a good time.
I'm like, so explain it to me. And he's like, well, I'll just show you. So we got one of my rectifiers out, hooked it up, and like we plugged in like a TS9 and I think maybe like a Fortin 33, like something like that we tried. And I was instantly like, oh, all the muddiness is gone. Like, oh, I now understand why everybody does this. But to me, I never like
that's
stacking.
Something, yeah. Well, I mean, dude, that's what makes these amps so good. It's not having a hyper modern amplifier is great, but you can't unmodern it if you want something else.
Yeah.
If you have something that's mega super crazy butthole tight, that's so gained out, it sounds boosted without being actually boosted. Well, that's fine, but what if I want something that doesn't sound boosted? I mean, you're fucked.
Yeah.
But that's what made the 5150 and the rectifier such a great amp, is because they're such great platforms. They're a blank palette you can kind of go either way with those amps.
Yep, 100%. And like you said, I mean, you can get whatever you want out of almost anything, right? Like I'll tell a fun story. And I don't do a ton of name dropping, but I will now. So I was setting up for this event. Yeah, I was watching out, or I was setting up for this event. We do this. I mean, the YouTube channel thing or live stream is called Gear and Beer. What we used to do live events called Gear and Beer, mainly in Nashville, where we get a bunch of session guys and like side guy players to come out to somewhere like Soundcheck in Nashville, set up a bunch of amps, and get some hot chicken and some beer, and just play around on gear for an afternoon, right? And I pull up to the building one day, and there's like, I'm pretty sure it was a Bugatti was parked out front, and I was like, oh, I'm like, who's here today? And it used to be when you walked in, there was just like a sign-in sheet that you had to sign in to say that you were in the building. And we have a storage locker in this building, so I go to sign in, and the name right above mine says Joe Bonamassa, and all I can hear is some dude just loud as balls shredding blues licks, like just unbelievable. I'm like, well, I know who owns the Bugatti outside, like Joe Bonamassa's here. So I go to our locker, and I start piling up all of our stuff on a cart to take it over to one of the rehearsal rooms. And as I'm walking over to one of the rehearsal rooms, he walks out of the room that he's in, and he's like, hey, do you know where so-and-so is? And I'm like, no. I'm like, but, check at the front office. They're probably there. And he, like, looks at the stack of amps I have on this cart, and he's like, what's that? And I'm like, a company called Rev. I'm like, we're based up in Canada. And he's like, it's amps, though. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, cool. He's like, what are you doing with them? And I'm like, well, we're setting up for this event, and people are coming by after 4 o'clock. He's like, okay. He's like, are you going to be set up before that? I'm like, yeah. He's like, cool. He's like, I'm going to come by and try them if that's okay. I'm like, absolutely.
You never told me this story.
He's like, do you want to come by and try the first 2 high-powered Fender Tweed Twins off of the production line for my new, I don't know if it was his signature amp or what it was, and I was like,
Must have been. Yeah.
And then I was like, I actually don't want to play them because you're here. I'm like, but you play, I'll listen. They were so fucking loud, and it sounded so good. And we were in like, I think the rehearsal room is like 5,000 or 6,000 square feet. Like it was huge. Like they can set up, it's like one of those rehearsal spaces where you can set up a full tour with stage and lights and everything, right? So anyway, I go over, set up in this room, and he comes over at like 3 o'clock. And he plugs in, and the first thing that he does, he plugs into the 120, and he looks at it, he goes, lot of knobs. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's 4 channels. He's like, looks at it, he's like, oh yeah, I get it. First thing he does, master volumes at noon, everything else goosed, like just wide open. And I'm like, oh, this will be fun. It's gonna be fucking loud. So he starts playing, goes through, dimes it fully wide open. And I'm like, Jesus, it's loud, right? And it sounded phenomenal, right? He plays it, he's like, yeah, he's like, I like it. And then he goes over and he tries the Generator 740, right? And he's like, here's the thing. He's like, I hate low wattage amps. Like 40 watts, he's like, I'm not gonna like it. I'm like, well, you know, maybe not. Like, give it a whirl. I'm like, it's my favorite amp that we build. So he plugs in and plays for like 2 minutes and stops, and he's like, hey, he's like, congratulations. He's like, you guys have one of very few like 40-watt amps that I don't hate. He's like, I actually think that amp sounds great. He's like, just so you know, I'm never gonna buy or play your amps. And I'm like, no, that's fine. And he's like, you know why? I'm like, no, why? He's like, because no matter what, I sound like me no matter what I play. So he's like, I'm just gonna play the stuff that I'm used to and that I want to, because I'm always gonna sound like me. And I mean, that's so unbelievably true that like I can plug into the Generator, I can plug into that Marshall, and like at least the guys here, if they're in the other room, they're gonna know that I'm playing. Not just by whatever riffs it is, it's just, all of us, our hands sound a certain way. Totally. Which I know Glenn would crucify me for saying that tone is in the hands, but...
Well, tubes don't matter either, so...
Yeah, I mean, lots of things don't matter. So, yeah.
I hope he's watching.
Yeah, I hope he is too. So... yeah, so like I totally get like what you're saying about like use and lots of great amps that are going to either be modern or they're going to be vintage or but you're going to end up getting your sound out of whatever you play, right?
100%.
Like, yeah. So so that being said, so we've talked about your valve state that caught on fire. What? I've never had an amp catch on fire, I don't think. I can tell you if you want another fun story about talking about throwing around a 5150.
Yeah.
So you can't see him unless he'll turn the camera and show himself, but Stobes here who's running like cameras for us. Stobes was the other guitar player in my band back in the day. Well, I don't know if I've told this story on the stream or not. Yeah. So if there's any really bad camera changes or anything like that, that's 100% because Alex is wanting to be a douche. But like that, you know, nice transitions like that. So anyway, we played this show one night, and we got finished really late, and Stobie lived an hour away from Winnipeg. And I said, like, dude, just come crash at my place tonight. Like, don't bother driving home. Because he's notorious for falling asleep everywhere. I once found him asleep, I shit you not, on a set of subs at a festival while the festival was going. So, anyway.
Jesus.
He was playing a 5152 with, you had an old PV cab, didn't you? Like one of the old ones with like the metal grate on it? Or yeah. Anyway, he used to drive like an 87 Dodge Dynasty. Like just perfect tour vehicle.
A Dynasty.
Yeah, the Dynasty. Yeah. So he left the gig. I told him, I'm like, yeah, man, like come crash my place. Nah, I'm gonna go home. Drives home. As he's driving home, falls asleep at the wheel, veers off the road, hits like an approach to go into a farmer's field, flips his car end over end. His 5152 head is in the trunk of his car. Trunk pops open, head shoots out, and landed, what did you say, like 100 yards away in a field? The only reason he didn't die, like legit, the only reason he didn't die, besides the grace of God, is that he had put his 4x12 cabinet had to fit in the back seat of his car. So the roof of the car got stopped from caving, like crushing in from a fucking PV 4x12 cabinet.
Dude,
and
I fucking love old PVs.
Dude, I shit you not. He took the amp home. He went and grabbed it like the next day. Was it the next day or? Yeah. He went and grabbed it. It was in this field. Went and grabbed it, took it home. Tubes weren't broken, like nothing.
But it fucking fired right up, didn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
God
yeah.
damn it.
Right up.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. So, like, yeah. Is this a Hard Times article? No, I'm like, I swear, I mean, like, the tubes didn't break, did it? I thought.
No, it was good to go.
Yeah. Like, legit, there was nothing. And, like, you got your cab back, even though the roof was crushed, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the car crushed, but the 412 didn't.
Yeah. So
this is not.
Yeah.
This is not the same thing. But I watched my my buddy. He was playing a show. This is on stage playing a show, and he set his beer on his triple rectifier, his 3-channel triple rectifier, and that fucking beer goes, and then spills right into the fucking vent. Tubes go instantly.
Oh.
Amp dies. There is beer everywhere. His fucking tech gets unboxes new tubes, fires the amp up, and they finish the fucking show.
No
And there was
way.
beer inside that fucking chassis. It was a full Budweiser. It was boiling and fucking smoking, and they played the rest of the show.
Dude, that's awesome. Wasn't it, didn't you used to rip on, wasn't it Blaze amps that had like a beer, like they had a
Cup
beer
holder.
a cup holder, yeah, on their heads.
And the worst soldering job you ever saw, dude, that guy was really, really disappointed because he was like a huge fan of mine apparently. And like he wrote me like a nasty like email saying like how disappointed he was that I ripped on him.
Yeah, because you said you can get one of those amps if you want to burn your house down.
I might have said something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit, right?
I forgot about what I said. That's funny. I did say that. God, what the? I'm on shit sometimes. I'm just like,
Dude, I remember us talking about that like years ago because you were like, have you seen this fucking amp that has a cup holder on it? I'm like, that is the dumbest idea I have ever heard. Like, how often are we trying to convince people not to put their drinks on amps and instead you're gonna facilitate it? Yeah.
dude, come on.
So man, besides your Marshall valve state, what was like the piece of gear that you've what's the piece of gear that you've owned or had pass through your hands that you hated the most? Or maybe we should say most disappointed in? I don't know. Maybe we do both.
One of the amplifiers, they're not even around anymore, so I can say it. And I bought this amp legit from them, so I feel like I can say this. The Randall Thrasher, I got the sound that I got for the video. I do the video, put up the video, and everyone's like, oh yeah, whatever. What I don't really realize until I start playing it a little bit more, like it was like a week or two later, like it only did that sound. Like that it only did that sound. It sounded broken if you did anything else with the knobs. And they did also have a massive QC issues. But that amp was like the realization of like, oh fuck, this amp sucks. Like, oh no. And like I paid a lot of money for that amp, and the one chugga tone it would do, anything outside of that lane, it did not do for me.
Right.
At that time. With any guitar, with any boost or not boost. I seem to remember it wouldn't do anything other than super mega chug, Paul Muty boosted crazy Parkway Drive stuff. Other than that, it would not do anything. So, yeah, I don't know. There's been a couple of things I'm just like, oh fuck, this sucks. Halo guitars, those sucked. Sorry, Halo.
Yeah.
I think they're still around, but
yeah. No, I think one of the worst that I've had, and it was a lesson that I learned the first summer NAMM that we did. I don't think these guys are around anymore either, so hopefully they're not. Otherwise, he is going to be horrible.
They're in the comments right now. Holy shit.
Yeah, exactly. So there was this guitar brand from Memphis, Tennessee called Killer Bee Guitars. And I mean, we were nobody was paying attention to us. It was summer of 2015.
Yeah.
And this guy says, hey, I want to, I knew him through, or I met him through a mutual friend that somebody that I did trust, and I still do trust this guy a lot. I just learned my lesson about like vetting people before you end up working with them. But he said like, hey, could I bring some guitars for you guys to have at your booth at NAMM? And I was like, sure, why not? Like, you know, like that's going to be better than us just bringing like 3 or 4 of ours, right? So he brought these guitars, man, and like they were the worst setup guitars I have seen in like it was like Jay Tercer level bad, where like he had cut the nut wrong on one of them, and he had also drilled and mounted the bridge in the wrong position so the guitar would not tune or intonate. But he had done like the Shelby style like racing stripe paint job on it, so the guitar looked really cool. And he was just like, oh yeah, he's like, well, you should put this one out at the booth because like it looks really great. I'm like, it's unplayable. Like you literally cannot play this at all. I'm like, we can't have this out. He's like, oh man. He's like, well, it's like it's so bad because like, you know, it looks so good. Like it would be really good if people could see it. I'm like, dude, this will literally ruin your company if you do this. I'm like, I don't care how good it looks. I'm like, you should have drilled the bridge properly, man.
I kind of remember that. Was that when you were still over near the wall?
Yeah, like
I remember that.
Yeah, it was not good. It was not good stuff, man. So I learned my lesson then about like we've had a number of people. I don't remember the name of the brand anymore either, but there was another company that like wanted to send us 7 strings to use. And yeah,
Strictly 7?
It wasn't strictly 7. I don't remember who they were. This guy had like a $3,000 7-string, and he wanted us to show them at our booth, and he wanted to get it on like Gear Gods. And this was when Trey was working for us doing social media like really early on, and so he sent the guitar. I said, you know what, send it to Trey in California. He'll check it out. I'm like, I have to let you know. If we don't like it, we're not going to bring it to the booth. I'm like, but if you want to send it, you know, Trey,
We'll check it out.
Trey will check it out, and if he likes it, maybe he'll do a video, right? And Trey got it and calls me. He's like, dude, this thing is a pile of shit. And I'm like, great. So I had to tell this dude who had his hopes up like a lot that we were going to be his like free ticket to the NAMM show, right? That like, sorry, man, like we can't. That where there's been I mean we were a tiny company at the time, but we'd still have like even smaller companies come and be like, oh, could you take these pedals or could you take this or take that? And I'm like, I'd love to, because I'd love to help, but like if I, you know, like if I take this, it's gonna look, you know, it's gonna look bad or it's not gonna work, and you're gonna end up upset, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I've had a few things like that. I'm trying to think of like, that was the worst guitar experience I think I had. Like those Killer Bee guitars, they were just awful. Yeah, I don't know if there's been others. Thankfully, we've moved on to working with other companies that build really great stuff. You know, like this past NAMM we had. Like I'm a huge fan. Like my #1 guitar is the Schecter Nick Johnson USA custom Strat.
Their USA stuff is primo.
Oh, it's so nice.
Really good.
I mean, really even the import, like Michael at Schecter gave me he wanted a Dynamis head, so he traded me, I got the NJ import and he's Strat, and then he's also sending me the import Telly when he gets them, like Nick's Telly to check out. Yeah, I mean, I would say for the money, I'm curious what you think of that. I feel like for the money, import guitars now compared to, because you and I are pretty much the same age. I think I'm maybe a little bit older than you, but
for the money,
I'm born in '80.
Same.
Okay, so we're the same.
Okay.
When in '80?
November.
What month?
I turned 42 last week.
May. So I've been there I'm 6 months ahead.
Bow down to my elder.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Don't worry. I'll be I'll be in a wheelchair and with a walker and a cane long before you. So, yeah, I feel like the money, like what you get for the money in entry, quote unquote, entry level stuff now, just destroys what we had in the 90s.
Dude,
Like,
it was either garbage or not garbage, and that was it. There was no in between. There was no features. There was no anything. And our guitarist, my other guitarist, Sean, in the band, you know, he's with Schecter, and he tours with the Jack Fowler and the Nick Johnson.
Nice.
And we've taken them all over the world, and they have never let him down.
Dude, I love them. And like, I mean, I got, this year, Rich Rankin was super, super nice and brought us a James Tyler to have at the booth this year. And I mean, I make no bones about it. That is the nicest Strat style guitar I have ever played in my life. And yeah, if you're into high-end guitars and you don't know about James Tyler, go check out James Tyler Guitars. Ugliest headstock on the planet.
Gonna say, yeah,
like,
I couldn't ever do the headstock. Nope.
Horrific, but you play it and you're like, I can live with the headstock. Like this
really?
guitar is that great. I can live with it. Yeah, I would have one in a heartbeat if it wasn't for the fact that, you know, the countries are or the global economy is going to slide into recession and I'm going to regret buying a $4,000 guitar.
Yeah.
So,
You will.
yeah. So, when we first met, you were with. Actually, you weren't with Balaguer yet. You were mainly a Les Paul guy, right?
I was. Yeah, yeah.
And the RDs, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was a Gibson guy.
Yeah. So
Hardcore.
let's talk about Gibsons.
I got one right here.
What do you got?
I just got this. This is a 50s standard. So I'm going to be doing I've gotten a lot of Les Pauls lately. I'm going to be doing a shootout between the 50s, 60s, and the Slash.
Nice.
Yeah,
so,
it's nice.
What are you a bigger fan of? You the 50s wide fat or you the 60s slim neck?
I kind of like the 50s. I kind of like
Really?
the 50s. I kind of like the 50s.
I'm the other way. I have small hands for how fat I am. Yeah, for how fat I am, I have short fingers and small hands. So this is not proportionate. I love the 60s neck. Like this is my, I have the 91 standard.
How's the dish on that? Is there? That's when they still had the actual like proper dish right here.
Yep. It's nice. It's super comfortable. These are like, I didn't know anything about this until our video guy Dorian started working for us and was like, oh, you need to get a 90s Les Paul. He's like, 91 is like good wood area. Like you'll be into it. It's funny, like MPF, you said you love the burst. I don't know if you're talking about Fluffs or mine. This is like the cherry burst or whatever they call it. And I actually didn't like it, but I couldn't find any other 91s besides this. And I was finally like, oh, I'm going to buy one before they become, $3,000 or $4,000 because they're just, during COVID, gear prices just went stupid, right? So I had played like Dorian's got two 91s and a 95. I had played his and they were phenomenal, like stayed in tune perfectly, like just great guitars, right? And I like the 60s neck. So I bought it and it's killer, man. I just did a week of sales training stuff and Sweetwater sales presentations and stuff like that with Glenn and with Sean, and this is one of the main guitars that goes with us. Like we take it to NAMM and yeah, it's killer.
The 90s was a golden era. I mean, even at the time, it was like, God, these are so good. I do want to get a 90s. I don't want a 70s. I don't want a 60s. I don't want some vintage burst. I actually do very much want a, mid 90s, early 90s custom or a standard.
I want a 1980 Les Paul. Like I want one from the year that we're born, just to have it. And they're
are we silently sniping each other, dude? I'm always on the lookout for an 80. I came so close to buying a very mint Tobacco Burst standard once.
Oh, nice.
It was about a year ago, and I had tracked one down. I think it might have been on Reverb, might have been on Facebook Marketplace, but it was so clean. But what scared me off is I believe that if you come across a 40-plus-year-old guitar and it's in mint condition, it probably doesn't sound that great because otherwise people would have been playing it.
Yep. Yeah, the only 80s ones that I ever see are this color, which, I mean, when I was a kid, this was my favorite. Like, there was a Les Paul Studio in the 90s that was this color, and it was, you know, it was on my bucket list. Anthony says 80s Silverburst. I'm not big on the Silverburst train. How about you? Yeah.
It's okay.
I don't get why they're $8,000. Like,
because of Adam Jones and fucking tools.
So there is a guy local here, and the buddy of mine that has he has a 1980 Alpine White custom, and I was like, that's like turned kind of yellow from like cigarette smoke and
he
stuff.
wants
and
$7-8 grand for it.
I don't know. He won't sell it anytime soon, but the guy he got it from has this same color in an 1980 custom that I'm like, I'll check it out. Yeah.
The thing about the standards is the headstocks were still a little goofy then.
Yep.
The headstocks did that weird. They were like extra sharp.
Yep.
And pointy. I hate that, which is why I always deviate to the customs, because the customs still had the different headstock. So
nice. So which Slash one are you checking out? Like the new, like one of the newer, like Appetite Burst or something like that?
Yeah, it's the November Burst. All the Les Pauls. I think, hot take, we are entering another golden era of Gibson. I have three 2022 Les Pauls, and they're all perfectly balanced. The fit and finish are better than any of the other ones. I have owned a lot of Les Pauls over the last couple of years that have been brand new. And the fit and finish, the fretwork is unbelievable on all of them. And I'm just like, they're killing it right now.
I bought, Manny, can you check the room? I don't know how easy it'll be to find, but I have the Appetite Burst Slash. Let's see if it's here. I got an Appetite Burst Slash in 2020. It was like, this sounds ridiculous, but like I had been working for Two Notes, like you know, and I left Two Notes, and this was my present to myself, was that I was buying myself the Appetite Burst Les Paul, and the top on it reminds me of like the quality of finish and flame that you get with PRS, which to me PRS destroys pretty much everybody in that department, or I should say like they own that market in my opinion. And yeah, I saw a picture of it while I was driving home, and it sounds killer, it looks killer. That's it, Manny. Yeah. So check this thing out. And actually what's interesting is I have the Victoria. Oof. So look at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it about the Slash stuff? I mean, okay, so I don't particularly, I'm not a huge fan of Slash. I respect him, but he has no impact on me. His guitar is unfucking believable that I got. And that, like, again, Les Pauls without pickguards don't really do it for me. That's sick.
Oh, dude, I'm a huge fan of no pickguards on Les Pauls. I'm
Depends on the finish, actually.
I'm a weirdo that way. I probably wouldn't want it on like solid, like on a black or a white. That's my next thing is when I almost bought a 91 when I was in Toronto. There's somebody who had it was either 91 or 92. They had a black standard that I was trying. Same with, I remember I messaged you and said like, oh, dude, somebody has a 2x12 Johnson Millennium amp.
Oh yeah, did you get it?
I was like, no, the guy didn't return my call.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was like, I should have got one. Our video guy here was talking about it yesterday, though, that one of his buddies locally has the head here that he's getting. So, but I mean, this guitar, it just sounds.
Yeah.
If I tune it properly.
The Slashes have the long neck tenon. I don't know if that's has anything to do with they're so good or not. I don't know, but
what's interesting about this is it has the 50s neck, right? Like on all of the new Slashes. It's pretty thick, right? It's not bad. I had
I think it's in between, but yeah.
Yeah, I had a 2000, or I still have it, a 2006 traditional gold top.
I did 2011.
That was the first Les Paul that I got, and it had just a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And I stripped the finish off it and oiled it, and I did everything I could to get that guitar to stay in tune and not be a pain in the ass, and I have failed miserably. But what is really interesting is Stobes. I don't know if you can get it, but on the wall back here is that's the slash. Like it's the same as they call it the Victoria now, but this is the 2006 version of the gold top slash.
So good.
And dude, this has the 60s neck on it. That guitar is so badass. It plays so well and sounds amazing. I am a huge Slash fan, even though I never learned covers. Like I can't play any Guns N' Roses really to save my life. But I've always liked Slash's tones, and I'm a big blues rock player, right? So like that's, you know, he's on my Mount Rushmore, you know.
Yeah, that's cool.
So.
I mean, dude, I love watching like his rig run. Dude, did you see the his collection video?
Yeah. Yeah.
So sick. I like how he can talk the talk.
Yep.
And he can walk the walk. And like, I greatly respect the man, but like, he's just had no influence on my musical journey at all.
Yeah. Nice. So yeah. What else? So you went from Gibsons to Balaguer when you got your own custom, the Hyperion.
Yeah, Rest Repose had started, and I didn't want to take 40-year-old guitars on tour, and Joe was like, "I'll make you one."
Yep.
I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure. But let's design something." I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I had one for a while until, honestly, one of our guys here just loved it, and I was like, they wanted one, and I'm like, you can take it. That's fine. It's a killer guitar. I haven't played anything from Joe that I didn't like. So, you know, for anybody on our channel that doesn't know Balaguer, like, yeah, go check them out.
And they've only gotten better since
Yeah.
I left them. Like, they're awesome. They're really, really great guitars.
Are you saying that you leaving made them better? Is that what you just said? They've only gotten better since you left?
Except for my Topo Chico.
Yeah. And you're with Ernie Ball now.
I am with Ernie Ball.
What big difference between Gibson and Ernie Ball? Like big difference in, especially necks, right?
Yeah, the reason why I'm with Music Man is because their necks are so damn stable, and we were on tour, on the used tour, and I had a couple of guitars in the back, and it was, January, we get to the East Coast, coming from California, and my guitars were still in tune, even though it was like 10 degrees outside, and everything was basically frozen, and then I brought them into the club, the warm club, so everything condensed, and everything is soaking wet, and I didn't even have to tune my guitars. I played the set without tuning my guitar. And I was like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, the guitars are so... I think of Music Mans as modern Fenders, much like I think of PRS as a modern Gibson.
Yep.
Namely the Tremonti and stuff like that. They're just a modern take on those classic designs. And yeah, that's what Music Man are. They're my fucking favorite.
Nice. Yeah, I've only got, like, I've got an Access and I've got a Van Halen Music Man because, on my
Van Halen.
Rushmore, like every other guitar player is Van Halen. And specifically, like, my dream guitar in the 90s was the Music Man Van Halen. And then by the time I could afford to buy one, he jumped to Peavey. So I bought the first year of the Wolfgang, like the arch top, and I still have it. That was my main guitar that I played live for the entire time I played live.
I sold off a first year special when they still had all the USA hardware because they hadn't transitioned fully. I had a special that I got rid of, and that's one of the only guitars I actually regret getting rid of.
I still have my USA, like arch top or whatever you call it, carved top, whatever they call them, like the standard USA version. Mm-hmm. And then I've got, I have a USA special from the same, from 98, 99, like sometime in around then, that was this just horrible, purple color that I got an auto body shop to refinish in like metallic silver because it just looked terrible. Stobes is shaking his head because it used to be Stobes' guitar, and he loved this like terrible purple thing. He's got Stobie. You still have the USA like purple quilt top, don't you?
Yeah, I still have that one.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, they're great guitars, man. Like I'm a huge fan. Luke just said, I spy Fishmans, and I was hoping to get a set of your Fishmans for, like, to play with tonight to hear, because I'm a huge fan of Fluence. We've got it in a bunch of guitars. Every Telecaster I own, I think, has the Greg Cox set in it, and...
Oh, man, that set is so good.
Oh, it's unbelievable. One of our Strats here has the Strat set, and then, yeah, I have an Aristides guitar. I've got a PRS single cut, like an SC250 that have the classics in it. So let's talk about yours, because that's what I was hoping to have here and to drop into one of our guitars. But Fishman is sold out. So congrats to you on that. That's
sorry about that.
Awesome. Yeah.
They're a great. So they were like, let's let's do your signature pickup. So I was like, cool, thank you so much. This is a huge honor. I want to do one pickup, just the bridge. I don't really care about the neck. I just want to do the bridge. They were like, what? Can we do that? Can we wait? What? You just want a single pickup. You don't want a 2 pickup set. I was like, no, I don't want a 2 pickup set, because no one buys. Like if they're already in the Fishman ecosystem, they're going to be trading out and trying out bridge pickups, not bridge and neck pickups.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when I asked Ken, like, because I messaged Ken Susi and was like, hey, Ryan's going to be coming on to do Gear and Beer with me. Can you get me a set of his pickups? And he's like, there's only one, so do you want just like a classic for the neck or what? I'm like,
I usually
no,
use the classic for the neck, yeah.
I was like, dude, just send me the one. I've got like several guitars that have the classics in them. I'll just swap the bridge pickup.
See?
But of course, I got the email from Fishman today being like, yeah, because I'd asked for the tracking. I'm like, hey, I haven't seen this yet. And they're like, oh yeah, that's sold out. Like, it's going to be a little while yet. So we'll,
sorry.
That's all right. When it comes in, we'll
get you one.
We'll do some shooting out between like the Willie Adlers and the, yeah, and
make
your
sure
pickups and the
before you
moderns
put it in though, you gotta solder the high frequency tilt.
Okay.
That's what makes it special, is the high, or being able to engage the high frequency tilt, because mine I always have it on. I never have it off. So off is all the top end.
Yep.
And I took away all that hi-fi top endy bullshit with my frequency tilt. So it's a very steep. It sounds like a passive top end pickup, not an active. So it's a little
That's
bit more
really
round.
interesting, because that is like, if I can say like I'm a big fan of Fluence, right?
But they all have that.
Yep. And I've said, and I've had a lot of people that are, just standard wound pickup fans, right? That the immediate comment I get from everybody is, it sounds too hi-fi. Like,
That's absolutely right. And I was like, if I can get rid of the hi-fi-ness, I'm in. And they were like, you can do whatever you want. And I was like, awesome. And so I literally have my guitar over here. They sent me a whole bunch of different values of the fucking, what are the caps, the red, like a little red square. And I tried out different values across the volume pot to cut the top end.
Yep.
And I did a whole bunch of play tests, and I plugged into amps with trying different values with the guts on the guitar out until I settled on a value. And I said, this is the value. I can't remember how many microfarad. And they were like, okay. And that's it. And that's what it is.
Nice.
So it's a really severe high tilt or high tilt cut.
Nice. So I will hit you up as soon as I get it, which could be
do.
6 months, whenever they come back into stock. But yeah, man. So you're playing the Stingrays?
I'm playing the Stingrays. We're about to leave for tour, and I'm going to take this guy on tour for the first time because I don't know why not. This is a custom one-off Valentine guitar.
Nice.
That they built for me when I first signed on with them, and this is what we recorded most of the first album with, and this is also what's in the Hypochondria video, and I've never taken it out of the studio because it sounds and records. It's my best sounding and recording guitar. And but I dropped it when I just moved, and I dropped it and took a big chunk out of the headstock. So now I'm like, okay, well, now it's time to tour with it. So
Nice.
yeah, fuck.
Very nice. Yeah, I do have to get some of the stuff. I know Kyle's in the comments here, and he was commenting about, like, I remember when he was...
He had one,
he was
right?
just-
A red one?
Yep. Yeah, Red Valentine. Yeah, and I remember he was on me about it because we know a couple of people at Ernie Ball, right? Like, not like you do, but we know a couple of people,
Yeah,
and, you know, I was like, hey, do you do industry accommodations or trades or anything? And I just haven't, like... I haven't done anything with it, and I do need to, because I mean, for me, I love the access. Like, I mean, that's, you know, those guitars. Like every time I pick up a Wolfgang or the Music Man, I'm always my hand as soon as I hit that neck, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm home. Like this is,
Dude.
I'm like, this is exactly what feels right to me. They're so smooth and so fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
No one does necks like them. I don't know.
No.
I don't know what it is. And like the Stingrays don't have a fast neck. To be fair, the Stingrays have a very vintage
Yep.
feel. But however they finish them, and their cuts of wood are always just incredible.
Yep.
And like, you know, they have flamey, and I don't know, man. Their shapes just conform to the hand. Much. I mean, I would say they are on par. PRS and Ernie Ball, Music Man are like of what you really want to like strive for as far as like your neck's shapes and finishes and fit and finish. So good.
So with you being a Les Paul guy before, were you ever really a PRS guy? Like I remember you talking about getting one.
And I do. I have 3 now.
Okay.
I have a Tremonti. I have the Custom 22 was the first one I ever got. I have a really special one-off flat black guitar
I remember that.
My buddy James was at the factory picking out his wood library. He's a dealer, and they have a rack at the factory of just like, we're gonna try this finish. We're gonna see how it reacts with this thing or how this looks. And okay, cool. Put that in the rack there. And he walked by the rack and he was like, I want that. And they're like, well, those aren't really for sale. And he's like, I'm spending, $250,000 today, so I want that.
Yep.
And they were like, cool. We'll ship it to your regular address. So I unboxed the guitar. I was helping him out with content. I just unboxed the guitar. And I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is this?
Was that Guitar Store? Mm-hmm. Yep. Are they still around?
It's Quimper Sounds now. He still does guitars a little bit, but he moved. His building in Seattle got sold out from under him, and it was better. He's better off in Port Townsend now. But I just had lunch with him last week, and
Nice.
so he got that guitar in, and it never even hit the showroom floor. I slapped down my debit card and was like, I have to have this guitar. This is insane. Then I have the Tremonti, and then I have the Mark Literary.
Oh yeah, like the Fiora. Or
The Fiora, which is probably the best PRS neck they have, in my opinion. That neck is.
Did you play the Silver Sky?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I don't really care about it. I don't really care.
You and I belong together, Ryan.
I don't. It's.
I'm a huge PRS fan. I probably have.
I'm a huge John Mayer fan too.
Yeah, I have 7 or 8 PRSs, I'm sure, and I was so excited for the Silver Sky because I love Strats, and the first time I picked it up and felt the neck, I was like, what is this and why? Like, it's an odd shape. It gets wider the higher up that you move,
Yes.
and it's super glossy. It's like crazy sticky, and I'm like, ugh.
The reverse headstock is also not a deal breaker for me, but it doesn't help it, in my opinion.
Right.
I would rather have a regular. The Fiora for me is the guitar that because I pick up the Silver Sky and I'm like, don't like the neck. A humbucker would be cool, and but it's fine.
My favorite PRS. Sean just commented, said PRS guitars are killer, but I wasn't into the Silver Sky. Yeah, I got a DGT from Sean a few years ago, and those guitars, like that guitar specifically, it's a gold top DGT that is without a doubt the nicest PRS I've ever played. Yeah. But no, the Silver Sky was like, I was like, yeah, it's a miss. I felt that way about a lot of lot of stuff that becomes like super popular. Like,
Can I tell a John Mayer story? Or not a John Mayer story, but a John Mayer gear story.
yeah,
I don't think I'll get in trouble for this, but whatever, it's fine.
no one watches our channel. Don't worry.
It's fine.
It's just your channel.
Well, no, it's about as well. And also, if anyone from PRS is watching, Jeannie, I love you. I love all of you, and I still work with them all the time, and I love you. And anyway, so Ben Eller and I were at Sweetwater in about a year ago, and this is our first trip. We're there for like 7 days, and Sweetwater's like, you can do whatever you want as far as content. You tell us what you need, we'll go pull it. And Sean, the studio manager, is like,
Sean
yeah,
Dealey.
Sean Dealey. I love
Sean Dealey is from good old Winnipeg, Manitoba. Here.
That is absolutely right. Yeah.
Yep.
I love him. And he was telling us all these amps that they have, or that they can go pull and all this stuff. And he mentions the John Mayer amp.
Oh, yeah.
The John Mayer amp, the $6,000
Yep.
hand-wired John Mayer amp.
Monstrosity. Yes.
And he just kind of glazes over it, and me and Ben were like, whoa. You got a John Mayer amp? Let's do a video with it. And he was like, you're not gonna wanna. And I was like, no. Let's I would do. I want to check it out. We got to play a $6,000 amp. So he gets it out. They set it up. We choose a cab. I think we might have. Did Ben put this out on his channel? I think he did. But I think we cut out a lot because the look on our faces when we tried it was like a kind of a blind react. Let's check it out kind of a thing. Ben starts playing, and I'm like, oh, I must have a dial that's full up or something like that. Oh no, Is there? Check your cables. Is there something wrong with the cable? What is? And it sounded so fucking bad. Yep. This amp was the worst amplifier I have ever heard. And we're like, dude, Sean, is this amplifier broken? He said, no. We had them check it out, and everything is just as it should be. That's how it's supposed to. Like the sweep of the pots was really weird, and like it got fizzy, but never really cleaned up. But stayed crunchy, but didn't get anything past crunchy, no matter what you did. Like, bro,
have you ever played a Dumble?
No.
Okay, so I have a similar.
Have you?
Yeah, I've played 3 of them.
What,
dude?
Jeez.
Well, I don't know if I should tell this on yes or not, but I'm friends with Tremonti, right?
Right.
Because I
he has
a printing
one.
company.
Yeah.
And we print some of Alter Bridge's tour merch. So I've known him for a long time. And I was on vacation in Florida this February, and him and I have kids that are like we both had kids during the pandemic, really close to each other. So we were texting back and forth, and it was right after Dumble had passed away. Last Christmas, I was texting him, and I was like, hey, I'm headed to Florida, I think, next month. I'm like, you want to go grab a beer or something when I'm in town? And he's just like, dude, he's like, Dumble died. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, it sucks. He's like, yeah. He's like, dude, when you're in Florida, hit me up. He's like, come over and play some amps. And I was like, I will do that. So I got to go to his place and play. He has 2 overdrive specials right now. One that was just kind of okay, like it's cool, but one that is unbelievable, like hands down in the top 3 amps I've ever played in my life. It's crazy. I was with him when he bought one of them. He was at Carter Vintage in Nashville, and I was in Nashville at the time, and I was in like one of their little practice room things with him.
And he whips out his black card.
Well, no,
with the
dude,
Creed logo on it.
It's funny. He wasn't. No, he's like everybody else, man. That he's like, I don't know, man. And then like trying to wheel and deal. I'm like, this amp's $135,000. How are you wheeling and dealing on something like this? But it took him a bit before he bought it. Like I know he went home, and yeah, I just remember like I was in the room with him and Seth Morrison from Skillet. Was in the room with us. Yeah, and they were so. Mark's playing it, and he's like, oh, yeah, this is like, isn't that like the best? And I was like, dude, my ears are broken. I think this amp does not sound good. I don't know what you're talking about. And then I was like, I'd never played one, so I'm like, oh, it must be a feel thing, right? Like, it must be that this amp just feels like super buttery, like just, like so smooth. Because you think about the players that play them, and you don't think that it's going to be stiff and like, and shitty. Well, then we go and we shoot a video at, we go to Blackbird, and Blackbird lets us use an overdrive special for a video for 2 notes. And I was there with Joey Landreth, and
wow.
We plug in this amp, and dude, like we played between him and I, we played it for like an hour or an hour and a bit, and then we left to go get dinner. And like while we're waiting to pick up our dinner, he's like, do you just feel like somebody shot your dog? And I'm like, yeah, I feel like this amp's horrible. It like I don't get it at all. It's super stiff. It's really hard to play. There's nothing really, really awesome about it. And I'm like, I feel like there's all this folklore about, these $100,000, $150,000 amps. What was really strange was when we went back, like we picked up our supper, went back, we ate. So the amp had been on now for about like 3 hours, maybe 2.5, 3 hours. When we went back, he sounded phenomenal through it. Like it was a different amp. And I played it, and I'm like, it's not as stiff now, but it's weird, man. Like it's, it's like, it's got ruby tubes in it and other stuff that I was like, I would expect things to be like way higher end than what it was. So yeah, it was strange. And then we got to play it again at Blackbird when we did the Tilt. We went and did like 2 days at Blackbird or 3 days at Blackbird with a bunch of local studio players and like touring guys that Sean's friends with, and they brought the overdrive special out for us to play and to use the Tilt with. And using the Tilt into it, the amp sounded crazy good. So
interesting.
It is a weird thing, but the John Mayer amp definitely has, at least to me, had that like really like kind of stiff, like not like no sag, like just
it was
nothing.
A flat tire made out of styrofoam. It was so weird.
And I kind of said the same thing. Like I got to try it. I was in Evansville, Indiana at a shop. I'm trying to remember what they're called right now. Anyway, whatever they're called in Evansville, Indiana, that had PRS stuff. I went in there because they had the PRS or the Tremonti baritone, and they were one of the few places that had one, and I was like, ooh, I want to check that out. Which was weird because it's like Strat.
It's 25.5-inch scale.
Yeah, and it was
not
weird.
baritone, guys.
Yeah, you just have thick strings that you drop tuned.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guitar felt like all my other PRSs, so that was cool. Yeah, I got to play the Mayer amp there, and I was like pretty like underwhelmed. And I thought the same thing as you. I was like, this thing is $6,000. Like, why is this $6,000? And it's probably because you have to be a certain type of player like John Mayer to be able to make it sing the way that it needs to.
Whoa. Are you saying that you're not John Mayer playing Calbert?
I mean,
don't cut
I
yourself
taught him
down.
everything he knows, right?
Kyle,
Like,
I see you.
Yeah. It's a good thing that amps don't matter. Just change your speakers and the tone is automatic. Yeah. I'm
gonna message. I'm gonna text you after we're done,
dude,
here, Kyle.
I will say this, Kyle. I mean, whether you're joking or not, like a lot of people do underestimate their speaker cabinets and what drivers are in their speaker cabinets for, when deciding whether or not a head is cool or not. And yeah, don't be that guy. Like, yeah.
Do you know who opened up my eyes? Is Jeff, who actually just recently passed away from Line 6 and Boss.
Okay.
He invented the Pod and the DL4 and the Katana series and the Wazacraft.
Nice.
He just unexpectedly passed.
That sucks.
Like a month ago. But him and I were at the Tom Morello guitar camp, and he was showing me what happens when you do things like slightly loosen the back of the speaker cab. Like you can just take the same speaker cab and like start to slightly loosen it, and how the bass response will change and all this stuff. I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, whoa. It's just like, yeah, there's so many things going on and interacting to give you the sum that you hear coming out of your speakers. But it's obviously speakers make a massive difference.
Yeah.
But it's also a lot going on with the cab construction and the size and of course, and all this stuff is,
I think there's some core fundamentals when it comes to cabinet building that need to be there in order for it to sound good. But I'd say like, I'd say drivers are like 90 to 95% as far as I'm concerned, because they're actually making fun of me. You guys can't see it. They're typing me messages that they don't hit enter on about how I've been like very precise in our cabinetry design, and it is very true. Like our 1x12 cabinet, which I think sounds great. Literally, I took one of my buddies had one of the Mesa oversized 1x12s. And he brought it over for me to listen to. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm like, but it's too big. I want it to fit the Generator 740 on top of it nicely. So I took similar dimensions, shrunk it in by like 5 or 6 inches so that it fit properly. And then when I made the back, I did like the same like dumb window shape that we used to use that like is on all the early generators, like this one right here. And I say that it's dumb because it's really hard to Tolex. I routed that into the back as like a port in the back of the 1x12. And like Dan came over to the shop, we were playing it, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I'm like, it sounds kind of thin. Like, I'm not a big fan. And literally Dan takes a scrap piece of aluminum, covers like 25% of the back of the port. And I was like, well, that sounds way better. And he's like, good. He's like, make that port 25% smaller and we're good to go. And that is 100% the story of the design of the Rev 1x12 cabinet.
Jesus.
So I wasn't here for the design on the 2x12 or the 4x12. Dan did all of that long before I was involved. So every time I hear about like the, cabinetry kind of voodoo, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just think that in my experience, I get so much more out of changing a driver that I'm like,
totally.
You know what? Yeah. Also, I saw Kyle Bull said he has 70 amps. Holy shit, man. I knew he had a lot, but that's insane.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw Mitch saying that Glenn's getting his ass kicked here tonight. We're not trying to kick Glenn's ass. I mean, we love Glenn. That's, we did the Mahler with Glenn because,
we hate out of love.
Yes. But, I mean, I was on his channel and, like, I think that there's, like, I think that there's a misconception in what we when we say tone is in the hands, I think that we have different definitions of tone, right? Like to me, and maybe I'm completely wrong in this, but to me, your tone isn't just the frequencies coming out of your amplifier. It's your dynamics. It's everything about how you sound. Like to me, tone is how you sound or how somebody sounds. And absolutely, that's in your hands. Like, yeah.
Yep.
It's the same difference between like modeling versus, to me, like modeling versus tube amps, right? Like we can sound the exact same through, like if we do a Kemper profile of the 120, I'll sound the same through it on the live stream as I'm gonna sound out of the amp. But tell you what, I'm not gonna be as happy playing the modeler. And that's not me shitting on modelers. That's that I don't know how to play through modelers as well as I know how to play through a tube amp because a tube amp responds slower and the dynamics to me are different. And I just wouldn't know how to play like properly through a modeler. Yeah. So I'm happier playing through a tube amp, but yeah.
I tour with a fractal.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
But I still use real speakers. I still use a speaker cabinet though.
Yeah. I have no issue with modeling. I mean, I'm like we have 2 notes built into our amps. Like that's I think they're great tools and again, like I remember David, do you know David Walleman?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember like one of the first times I met David was at the first GitCon event in Germany, and he had been only playing Axe effects for like years at this point, and he came and started playing the 740 and started laughing, and he's like, I can't play properly through this because it responds so much slower under my fingers than the fractal does. He's like, I have to figure out how to play this again. He's like, but it's fun. It's different. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So it's I don't know. I love everything. I just bought some old like shitty floorboards from the 90s that I'm like, I remember these things ruling. I'm gonna figure out whether or not they suck.
Oh yeah.
Now or not. And like, so
I found a brand new Pod HD 500 rack mount unit.
Oh, wow.
And I bought it. It's in my storage unit. And
Nice.
I was gonna do a video on it because there was the software that came with it, and it was meant to be controlled by that software. They discontinued support of the software when about like a year and a half ago, and it doesn't run on any current computers at all. And I was like, "Fuck,
Dude.
come on, like Matt, come on, get something to work so I can do a video." And they're like, "Sorry, like we don't."
You got to like go like just go through.
I gotta
like,
find an old computer.
I was gonna say you got to go to like either a pawn shop or go to like Craigslist and be like getting rid of our high school computers from 8 years ago. You know what I mean? Like we're upgrading and come take out our trash and you're like, okay, I think I can. I think I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm glad. What's this? Braxel or Broxal says, I'm glad Rev dumped the oval logo. It looked cheap. Yeah. I didn't design that logo. That was Dan's.
We all learn. Learn.
Dan was into that or designed it. I never thought it looked bad. I just, I felt like, and a lot of people, I own a screen printing company, so I had issues with the fact that I like everything to be symmetrical, and like the fact that the one oval is like offset with inside kind of always threw me for a bit of a loop. And then also the one V that comes down to like a really sharp point.
That's
we
what I
found
didn't
that like. Yeah, and we found that like everybody pigeonholed us, like especially in Nashville, pigeonholed us to metal, partially just because of how the amps looked. And when we, this is actually the biggest lesson that I have learned in the last probably 3 or 4 years, is that as guitar players we hear with our eyes first. And if you have something that doesn't look great, it doesn't matter how cool it is. You're going to have an uphill battle to get people to try it, right? And I mean, and you can have something like this that legitimately, is like super like, I don't know what you would call this, like DIY looking, but it's got like typewriter style font on it and stuff, right? Like it's
sick.
pretty, yeah.
That's so sick.
This still looks great, right? It's that if it looks kind of like cheap and dumb, like that doesn't look cheap and dumb. It looks like it's intentional and it's super hipster.
Do you have a favorite amp company logo?
Oh, what a great question, dude.
You're a designer like I am. Come on.
I have to say, I mean, as tacky as it is, either Fender or Marshall. Fender's logo is fantastic.
It's fucking great, isn't it?
It is the best. Or Marshall's.
It's timeless. Those are timeless.
I would take Fenders over Marshall. Let's hear in the comment section who would you say has like the best logo? Yeah. Man.
I really, really like Soldano.
Yep.
Because, and maybe it's a nostalgic thing as well, but it really looks like it doesn't need anything. It just needs to say the name because you know what the fuck that is. Like, I don't know.
There, now you can see it better. I like you panning as soon as I do it. You're such a douche. Ampeg, yeah, Crate. That's interesting. Diesel.
Who said
Diesel's
Crate?
Who
said Diesel? You guys high?
Diesel's a super metal, like so
I hate
metal.
it.
Diesel better not ever try to do anything that's not
80s
metal.
PV. 80s PV.
Yeah. The Karsten Grace logo is cool. It's pretty like, reminds me of like kind of Art Deco-y style.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like.
So does the amp.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot. I think it'd be easier to find companies that we didn't like their logos on more than brands that I like out of everything I have here, logos that I don't like.
That I don't like? You know what? Friedman's has always been kind of like 30s Metropolis. It's okay.
I don't mind Friedman's.
It's okay.
I don't like. It's going to be super hard to see. I don't like the old Boogie logo.
Where it just says Boogie?
It just says Boogie.
The Mesa one is way better.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Comic Sans, like style font, like really like bubbly. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh, you dick! I can't unsee that.
I know. So
I hate you.
Randall, Bugera. Yeah, Bugera's is pretty bad. Unless you're saying it's good.
Are they even around anymore?
I don't know. Well,
I think they only make the small combos, dude. I know a buddy of mine. He's now at Microsoft, but he was their technical writer for a decade, and he wrote the manuals for the X32, all of their amplifiers.
Okay.
They sold more of those fucking the 1x8, 112, 110 combos than anything else from that entire Bugera line. They were making millions and millions of dollars because blues players loved that fucking 1x10 or 1x8
Really?
Tiny little tube combo that they made.
I saw somebody comment that Supro is good. Yeah, I like Supro's
Supros
logo.
are sick.
Yeah. I don't like somebody. You guys just zoomed in on PRS. I don't really like the PRS logo on their amps.
I
think it looks good on the guitars.
I agree.
But on the amps, I feel like it's. I mean, I get it. It's his signature, right? Yeah. Stobie's making fun of.
That aesthetically does not work.
No,
on the amplifier.
Stobie's making fun of Bugera, saying now that they have their 452nd owners. Nice. Yeah, the PRS one, it looks busy, right? Like the VHT logo. Yeah, I can't picture the VHT logo. It just says VHT, doesn't it? In like a block font.
Yeah. And the real squared off, straight.
Yeah. Somebody says Tone King amps are living room amps. Yeah, Tone King amps are very pretty amps, and they also sound awesome.
They do sound
like,
awesome.
I like the aesthetic they've done on a lot of their stuff. That it doesn't just look like another Fender or you know what I mean. Like Tone King's got its own thing going. Milkman, yeah. Fortin's pretty like Soldano-ish, like pretty straight ahead, like block font.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All the cursive classic 50s class, Bogner, Fender, Marshall, those are all timeless.
What's up, Keith from 5 Watt World?
Mr. Keith.
Yeah.
I watch Keith's videos every morning when I'm sipping my coffee on my couch.
They're great.
I love Keith. Well done on the was it the guitars of John Mayer? No, guitars of oh my god. I just watched the damn video. The guitars of
I've been on the road for 3 weeks, so I haven't watched anything.
Well, no, my problem is I don't remember which one is the new one because I go back because it'll autoplay if I leave it on my TV. So like I just rewatched the guitars of Jimmy Page, the Black Strat, the David Gilmour.
Nice.
Yes, well done.
Somebody said that these amp companies need to hire me to approve their logos before they go.
Hire you to go? No.
Nah. Yeah. Matchless. Yeah, Matchless has classy stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to think of if there's anybody that I've seen that had like really bad.
Keith,
design.
what's your favorite amp company logo?
Yeah. T-Rex's logo is bad wherever you just zoomed in on there.
T-Rex's is terrible.
Yeah.
I automatically don't take them seriously. Because they look like they should be on a can of WD-40 or something.
Yes. Pedal design, that's completely different, man. There's a lot of really bad pedal designs.
Horrible.
Yeah. The
Real
OCD is one of my least favorite. Like, yeah. I think it looks so terrible. I love everything that Strymon does. I think everything Strymon designs looks classy.
He said Rev was his favorite logo.
Oh,
Keith,
I don't have enough money to send you to say that. So, also, are you nuts, Fender?
We've all pretty much universally agreed that Fender has probably the top of the mountain amp logo.
Yeah, I mean, like I know it's because we've seen them a million times, but Fender and Gibson both, great logos.
Oh, the aesthetic of the Victory.
Victory? Yeah. Yep.
I was just looking at my Victory. Yeah, I would have to agree there as well. It's really nice.
Yeah. 22 Pedals has the worst pedal designs. I don't know if I know 22 Pedals.
I've never heard of 22 Pedals.
One of my least favorite things is I don't like crazy graphics on pedals, meaning like if your pedal has like full color,
If it looks like the cover of a, never mind, I'm not even gonna say it.
if it looks like the cover of a metal record,
Of a Cannibal Corpse record or something.
Yeah, I'm like, no, let's not do that. Like
Blood and guts, but it's good for blues, guys. It sounds,
Yeah.
it will drive a Fender Twin very, very nicely.
Okay, like I'll grab a pedal to show you like a good example of what drives me crazy. And I have no affiliation with this company, so I don't care if they get mad at me. So
The old Gibson logo. Gibson changed all the time, but always cool. Yeah.
like this to me is the epitome of like cheeseball garbage looking design. Oh, can you see it? It's this like Top Fuel pedal from Screddy, and it's got like shitty clip art flames and stuff on it. Like just like cool pedals.
okay.
Sounds good.
Don't make me
But
don't make me look at that again, please.
Yeah, it's just got a terrible decal on the top of it that looks awful. Sorry,
Keith, this
Screddy.
is my James Valentine signature model that I had them. This is the only one that's ever been made that has a burl top, because James Valentine is the guitarist of Maroon 5, and this normally comes with a P90 in it. And me being me, I was like, that doesn't really work with what I'm doing. And this has been my main. This has been on all the Dragged Under records, and I'm going to take it out on tour for the first time starting on Monday. So that's why I was holding it. I had to put the dot markers on and tour ready it, put my pickup in. But yeah, this is a one-off James Valentine Music Man with the burl top. And James was even like, "Hey, where can I get one of those?" He's a very nice guy.
That is awesome.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Mr. Spliffy said KSR has a great logo. Yep, absolutely. Much better than the old Rhodes logo. Isn't it similar to the Rhodes logo though? Like just the fact that the font changed
Yeah.
and it's just 3 letters. Yeah, it's killer stuff. Everything Kyle makes looks and sounds fantastic.
Kyle called me
So-
when he found out he had to change the name. He's like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "Just lean into it, man. It's all good."
Yep. Yeah, man, that's got to be rough.
That was the funniest fucking story. Anyway, I'm not at liberty to tell that story.
Oh, you like the fact that the logo and then it changes color on the amp? Yeah, I would have loved to have that when I was actually playing. Like, I always busted out the LEDs on the foot switch on my Boogie foot switch because I stepped on them too hard. And then I'd often be on like the second channel on the rectifier instead of the third channel because I had the 3-channel triple, and I wouldn't notice until later. And I'd be like, why am I quiet? Like, why does something doesn't sound right? And then I'm like, oh yeah. So what does it belong to Beef Supreme? What the hell is that? So yeah, you guys have any questions for Fluff or for I? We're getting pretty long here, and thank you everybody for for
Yeah, I want to
hanging
put on
out
my
with us for so
PJs and
long.
play Halo, guys. Come on, hurry up.
Nice. I'm gonna go back to work as soon as I'm done. But yeah, you're happy that we dumped the Oval logo. Yes, very good. We're happy about it too. Yeah, Dr. Z's logo is great.
Yeah, I like that logo as well.
Yeah, well, the Fortin. Yeah, we have a Zool. Like, I think the Fortin stuff, like, surprisingly, even though it has like pretty metal looking stuff on it, I think that Fortin stuff does look pretty
Thanks,
cool.
Keith. This is a 50s Les Paul.
Nice.
I love the
Like
tobacco
an actual
burst.
50s?
No,
like-
it's the 50s standard.
Best
Yes,
pizza
I'm
you've
holding a
had on
50s.
tour?
What's that?
Best pizza you've had on tour? That's a great question.
I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing. If you go to New York, every single pizza place claims to be the best and the oldest pizza place in New York, which is not true. But I should text our tour manager. The first place we went to on the Beartooth tour last year, we've been to a million pizza joints, but we go on this tour. We got into downtown. We were playing on the pier, right by the World Trade Center tribute thing, and there was a place about 3 blocks away. The dude, we walked in, and this was last year or so. We walked in, and the owner's like, "If you don't have your vaccination card, get the fuck out of my restaurant. But if you do, come on in." He was like so passive aggressive, New York Italian, whatever. Best pizza we've ever had. All of us were like, "What? This is? I want to frame this pizza." Like, I feel guilty for eating it because it's no longer going to exist. Like, and our tour manager used to live in New York, and he was like, "This is the best pizza I've ever had." I can't remember the name of it. I wanted to start with a V. I can picture the place, and you walk in, and it's, yeah. Anyway.
How do you feel about like Chicago deep dish versus New York versus Detroit versus?
Listen, Chicago deep dish is called lasagna in the rest of the world.
Yes.
It's garbage. It's actual trash. And if
What
you
a
like
hot
deep
take.
dish,
Oh man.
dude, no. Like, that's not pizza. That's fat Americans going, I want more. Can you give me 3 just on top of each other? It's
Just a brick of cheese.
It's a
Heat it
brick
up
of
with
cheese and
some
marinara
sauce.
sauce. That's not
Yeah.
pizza.
Dude.
New York style is the only style, and that I don't decide these things. It's just facts. I'm just repeating facts here. It's
Dude,
science.
I was with you until you said that because like I gotta say the new hipster like wood-fired, coal-fired thing is pretty awesome.
No, it is.
like-
It is. I'm just meant
but
like the not
Between
thick-
Chicago and New York, like there's no comparison.
Yes.
Sorry to everybody I know in Chicago, but whenever I go through Chicago with like anybody from work that's never been, they're like, "Oh, we should go get deep dish," and I'm like, can I take you to a really great Italian place
Yeah.
instead? Like
Dude.
I'm like, you're gonna get it, and you're gonna be disappointed. Like
Dude.
it's just
Every single time we roll through Chicago on tour, all of the guys are like, "We gotta go get Chicago. We gotta, oh yeah!" And I am the only one. I go find dinner by myself that night, and then 100% of the time, they all are shitting their ass the next day.
yeah.
All of them.
Dude, if you're ever through Chicago and you have time, there's an Italian place called Rosebud. They've got a bunch of locations in Chicago. That's my favorite Italian
Rosebud.
that I've had anywhere in the States. It's killer. And then otherwise, if you're getting stuff in Chicago, just get the Italian beef sandwich anywhere. Like that's the move in Chicago, or Chicago dogs. Like,
Oh yeah, there you go.
have you all thought about bus breakdowns and a possible backup plan for the tour or the last one? Sounds scary. Heck, maybe you're running a van. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have a huge bus. We have a converted shuttle. It's like an airport shuttle that we put bunks in, and it's very awesome and comfortable. And we have a table and a bench and 4 bunks so you can sleep. And we have contingency plans, and we have AAA, and we are so diligent on our maintenance. Every time we come back from a tour, it goes through a full thing of maintenance, full evaluation on everything. We have the wheels torn off. We have all the brakes lines looked at. And then we have them looked at again before we leave the next tour. Always.
Nice.
So yeah,
Are
we'll be
you like a guy that's happy doing that, or are you a guy that's like waiting for the day that you have a Prevost tour bus and that it's like the full deal?
being in a bus would allow us to sleep because we can't sleep in the shuttle.
Right.
You can only rest because the suspension does not allow you to sleep.
Gotcha.
I would love a giant tour bus. However, the actual way to like come home with any money is
to not
vans
do
and
that.
hotels. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the drives that you need the buses for? Like, you don't need a bus to go to the club. You need a bus for the 14-hour drive that you have to do from Houston, Texas to fucking Mesa, Arizona. Like,
Yeah.
that's why you need a bus. So if you're not doing those, then you don't need a bus.
Yep. Yeah, I'm always curious about that because there are people that go both ways on that, where I have friends that have been touring where the second they can afford a bus, they're on it, and
not the way to do it.
They all end up broke because they blow all their money on just like tour comforts, essentially. And
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, like Manny or anybody here will attest to this. I mean, I still drive everywhere for Rev. Like, I just went to Sweetwater and to Toronto and a bunch of places, and I put, however many, I don't know, we're kilometers because we're backwards compared to America, but like I put, 6,000 kilometers on my truck in the span of a week and a bit, and that's what you do, right? Like, you do your 20-some hour drives, and, and like you could fly, you could do all of the, but then you're a ton of money, especially when you're moving gear around, and it's like, well, if I have a way of driving it and it's not going to kill me to drive it, I'm going to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I'm one of those guys that, like, when I see the cost of things, that I'm just like, it doesn't matter how big or small our company is, you know. A plane ticket for $1,000 is a plane ticket for $1,000. And if I can get there in a day and it's going to cost me $300 in fuel, I'm like, well, $700 I'm not spending.
Well, I can get
a
a real nice hotel for $150 as well. So
real nice hotel, real nice dinner. You know what I mean? Like
for less.
That's right.
Less than a plane ticket.
And planes suck. So
yes, they do.
I mean, they're nice to get places fast, but man, they suck.
Yes,
Airports suck.
Yes,
yeah, I'm too fat for planes too. So
first class, baby.
What's that?
First class.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got the red money. Come on,
dude. I can't do that. I've gotten upgraded once in my life, and like, I know we both have mutual friends that are always flying business class, and I'm like, man, you're flying business class to Europe. You're like $6,000, $5,000 when I'll sit in the back of the plane for $1,000 or $800.
I upgraded our flight. We were supposed to be in Europe right now on the Millencolin Germany run. Yep. I actually upgraded my return home flight to business class so I could lay down because we've done that flight.
Yep.
That's the only time I'm doing that. It's $3,000. The tour got bumped and we had to cancel our plane tickets. What I did not know is Delta doesn't refund upgrades. They only refund the ticket.
No.
They took I had to eat $3,000 literally 2 weeks ago. And I called them and they were like, "Sorry, that's ours now." And I was like, "You fucking kidding me?"
I've never paid for I've paid for an upgrade, but not like that kind of money. I've paid the I'm at the airport and they offer it to me on my phone, like on the check-in thing.
Yeah. $300 if you want to upgrade to first class.
I got $300 to come home from Germany one time. And I was like, same thing. I was like, man, I know the plane I'm on, it's going to have the lay down pod thing. I'm going to do it, right?
Fuck yeah, you are.
And I would do on overseas flights every time. But mainly coming home. Going there is not bad. It's coming home to me that I find. Yeah. Probably because I know I'm coming home to a wife and kids that, want me not to be completely wrecked and jet lagged and not able to do anything. So yeah. Jay, I had a great time in Detroit. I wasn't there for long. I have no good Detroit stories at all. Like, Sean and I went to some local sports bar thing for dinner. It was good, I didn't stay there. Motor City Guitar, we were doing sales training there. That's a great shop if you've never been there. It's in like an old movie theater. They've got killer selections of stuff there and lots of great like old used gear. Yeah, if you're in Detroit area, go check out Motor City. Like if you're just visiting, they've got cool new shit and lots of cool I don't want to say vintage, but I want to say like 80s and 90s stuff used. That you're like, oh, this is cool that it's hard to find. Yeah. So
yeah, when are we going to get a Rev Synergy module, Derek? Derek?
Man.
When? Tell us.
Oh, would you look at the time? No.
It's time to go. We're at the 2 hours mark. Just kidding. You don't have to answer that. You can say no comment.
No, I actually don't mind answering it. We've been in talks with them for a while, and it's to the last of my knowledge, to my knowledge, the last time we talked about it, everything is supposed to move forward. We're just waiting for Boutique Amps to send us we want to design
paperwork.
It. A lot of the time, they get their in-house designers work with you to design it, but we want to do everything from kind of the ground up. So it's going to take a long time till it's done, but it is. We're in agreement with everything with Boutique Amps about how it's going to happen. So who knows if it'll take a year or 2 years, or if it'll take 6 months. I think it's going to take a year or two, but it'll come. That's a great platform too. I love that platform when it was like the Randall and the Ignator stuff. I think the concept on that is killer.
It's better now that they can actually do the actual circuits, because before they were kind of like, some of them are really good and some of them are like, that doesn't sound like a rectifier.
No, man. Did you ever play any of the Salvation Audio ones though?
No.
Oh, dude. Antonin's modules that he does,
they're amazing, aren't they?
They're amazing.
Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Billy Corgan approved.
Yep, dude. So unbelievably good. That's where I first actually heard that thing. Yeah. was at Music Mesa, and it was Antonin had a booth with Salvation, and I was like, weird, this JJ like thing doesn't say Friedman on it, it just says JJ, and it sounds a whole lot like a JJ. So
one of my favorite amps I've ever owned.
oh yeah, I don't have one. I have the Phil X and I have the BE 100.
Is the Phil X like a JMP?
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
like a
his
JC,
JMP?
JCM 800. Like I'd say it's like a boosted 800.
Damn.
It's cool.
Yeah, I don't care. The J, I just got the JJ like 2 months ago. I'm like, oh my God.
I remember I heard one at the LA Amp show years ago. I heard it in the BE 100. It was like the first time I heard them. Then I went to Guitar Center on Sunset and I played both of them. And when I heard them at, LA Amp show is what it was. When I heard them at the LA Amp show, I thought in the room the JJ sounded way better. But then when I went to Guitar Center, the BE 100 at Guitar Center sounded better. It was really strange. So I don't have a JJ. Same with like, I'd like to try the Butter Slacks, but I've never had. You had one of those for a bit, didn't you? Or didn't they send you one to check out?
I just traded it for a. I just traded it to a buddy of mine. My buddy
Nice.
because I don't need a BE Deluxe, a Butter Slacks, and a JJ.
Do you have the 50
much
watt
overlap.
deluxe or the 100 watt deluxe?
I have the 50 watt Deluxe. I preferred the 50.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard really good things about that. Sean has the 100 deluxe and really, really likes it.
The kitchen sink.
Terry's asking, Broxall's asking what size JJ do you have? I'm assuming you have the 100.
I have the 100.
Yeah.
It's.
You don't strike me as a 20 watt amp guy.
I am not a 20 watt amp guy.
No. Just have a feeling. I mean, except for your
there is one-
G20 and D20, right?
Actually, I do have a 20 watt PRS. I have it for display. I display it on my table right behind me.
Nice.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. You know, Kyle Bull would be able to weigh in on this, but I actually find I have a 50 watt JMP, like a 76 50 watt, and I have a 72 100 watt JMP. And I have an 82 50 watt JCM 800, and I had an 84 100 watt JCM 800. And I prefer the Marshall 50s over the 100s, like by a long shot. Like, I think they just saturate better. Shred Durst says, I want a 50 watt generator Mark III. Well, next year you probably will be happy then, so.
Robbie, you'd have to watch the video that I put out on it. I liked it,
There
though.
you go.
It's a Plexi.
Nice.
The best amps of all time.
All right, well, we're getting really long. We've been 2 hours here, man. It's been tons of fun.
Yeah, can I go now or what? What the
yeah.
fuck?
Yes, we've just crossed over the 2 hour mark, so you've fulfilled your contract obligation for this
Sick.
evening. We will absolutely send you a tilt overdrive pedal now.
Whoa,
We've made it
whoa,
to the 2 hour mark.
I get an amp. Come on.
Yeah, you're like, no, that's not how this works. You're like, a pedal? I didn't do this for a pedal. So, all right, so to recap, you can buy Fluff's pickups anywhere the Fishman sells pickups when they have them in stock.
Yeah.
And you can pick up Anchorhead coffee from anchorhead.com. And it's great, man. The beard blend. Go get you some coffee.
Yeah, it's delish.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Dude, thank you so much for hanging out. And
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
Thanks for having me.
It's been lots of fun.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
And I just dropped my in-ear pack, so I didn't hear a word you said there. So it's great. Yeah, it's perfect. You know.
And then I was like, I'm just kidding.
Don't tell him to do that. What?
Anyway, we worked out a deal where you guys are gonna build me a bunch of amps and whatever. But that all happened while your pack was unplugged. It's crazy, I know.
Yeah,
Nice.
sorry, we worked out some crazy stuff while you couldn't hear, so.
Great. So like 6 or 7 120s, a bunch of 4x12s and 2x12s.
Oh, I get the Klong. Yeah, that's right. I do
Oh
get the
yeah.
Klong.
You played a real one? Mm-mm. You got to come up here sometime. We have
Fire
to
me
do
up.
that. Yeah.
Fire me up. Let's make some content.
Yep. We will do that.
Okay.
have
I'm
this
home
nice
in January.
studio.
I'm home for like
Okay.
4 months in January.
Oh yes. You heard it here. Fluff is going to come to Winnipeg in January.
That's I mean,
No. I said I'm
luck.
home
Yeah.
in January.
You're like, oh,
I didn't
shit.
say I was
No.
there in January.
Yeah.
I said I was home in January.
Shit, I forgot where they live. It's the worst place in the world. Oh, January here is awful. I wouldn't make you do that, but maybe I will.
Okay.
We'll see. Maybe I'll try to entice you. But all right, for everybody on Rev's channel, thanks for coming, and obviously from Fluff's channel, thanks for hanging out with us, and yeah, just being silly and talking about guitar stuff. And Ryan, it's always the best. So,
Always a good time, man. Appreciate you.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll if you're on Rev's channel, we'll see you next week on Gear and Beer for whatever dumb stuff we're doing next week.
That's right.
All right.
See you, everybody.
See you.
I'm never coming back to Canada.
You shouldn't. It's very cold.
I shouldn't. I
Yeah.
should not come back.
It's snowing
Oh
here
my
now.
God, we're still alive. I love